We did it.
We made it here. I'm so proud of step one.
We're winning in life today.
Right there. TGIF. Thank you guys for being here. Oh my goodness. So we've got Sean Clark up in the house already. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
What's up,
wow.
Sean?
Hey, Sean, how you
Sean Clark.
doing?
He's doing good.
He's doing good.
He's doing good. He's doing so good.
You can tell. You can feed off his energy. You're like, yeah, I think he's doing pretty well today. How about our guest of honor, Alex? How are you doing today? Rex.
I'm doing well. I'm like,
Okay,
Alex.
okay. Pause, because I was actually just talking to Carlin about this, that I have people don't understand. I think I might have some sort of dyslexic thing of like names in association with things is not my strong suit at all. So yeah, she was teasing me about her sand slingshot earlier.
Yeah, our James and I's LLC is called Shifting Sands. And Creighton we were talking, he goes, what email are you using? Slingshot? I was like, not quite.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
I am doing well though.
Awesome. And you're over outside. Are you in Boise proper? Or are you outside?
Just outside of Boise, so Nampa.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, I even know that even better.
Yeah.
That's a little bit smaller, right?
It is smaller. All the towns have kind of grown together now, but
yeah,
a little bit smaller, kind of on the outside. So
how long have you been there? Because I mean, growing up in Eastern Oregon, back in my day, I remember that Boise was so small and just like a desert. And now when I go back, I'm just like, this isn't the same place that it was back in the day when I was going to school.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Nampa, right between Nampa and Meridian. And then 8 years ago, I moved over to Weiser. So if you were in Baker City area, you probably knew where Weiser was, right on the Oregon border there.
Yeah,
lived there for 8 years and then moved back to Nampa a year ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, cool. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks, Carlin, for letting me come in. I know I'm not a Jesse substitute, but for anyone that's wondering, my middle initial is J. So I feel like that kind of.
Yeah, Joe, there's lots of connection right there.
Yeah.
Streams right together.
We get confused for each other all the time for people that can't see, I guess, but that's about it. So
yeah. I didn't. I hardly knew Jesse wasn't in here. You know.
See, case in point, Rex. Rex.
You could call him Al Rex.
No, I want Rex. Rex is way better.
Anyway, you know, I was named after a dog.
What?
Like a breed?
No. So like my family had a dog that was named Rex, and then I came along. They changed the dog's name to Tex and named me Rex.
Wow, was that hard at the house? Because like if I hear something like an A, like or if someone says create or something with an 8 in, I'm like, oh, that's me. So if people were yelling at the dog, were you like, oh yeah, that's me?
No, it was, you know, when the dog was already middle-aged by the time I was born. So once I started getting older, you know, I remember the dog, but the dog had died, you know, in there before I was like old, but.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. People say your name, that sounds like a dog name. I'm like, it's because it is.
Oh, wow. How did you know?
I would never assume Rex would be a dog name. Actually, no, that never came. So, interesting. Yeah. Was that your parents' plan? They're like, hey, let's name him a dog name.
I don't think so. It was just my dad liked the name of the dog, and so there it is. Think no more.
Yeah.
So when they changed the dog name, did your dog start getting confused?
Dogs pick up on stuff pretty quick. So
I feel like they just associate the like sound. Like if I did like the same enunciation, because ours are Gumby and Pokey. So if I'm just like Umby, like he would still come. Like I don't think he cares if it's like.
Exactly. Yeah, they hear sound and not actually the pronunciation of it.
Yeah.
I think they hear like the excitement, like the energy. They hear the energy. They're like, "Oh, mom's happy. I'm happy. I'm gonna
Yeah.
show mom."
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
Well, cool. I'm so excited to get to be here today for being so thankful that it is Friday and get to be here Friday with you guys. So I'm so excited. So
Dude, this is amazing.
Same. I am super excited to be here. I know we tried one other time and it didn't work out. Something came up.
Oh yeah. It was a big something though. So
you still say stuff to me about that.
and today was actually pretty close to that. So we almost had the exact same scenario, all these tech issues between us setting this up. So persistence for anyone out there that's watching today and struggling, know that we had to be persistent in order to make this happen. So if we can be persistent, you can be persistent too.
You're very patient with me too through all of those trials and tribulations. I appreciate you guys allowing me to get through that.
Yeah. So here we are. Awesome. So Rex, why don't we start off like, I know you're in Florida, but like, what is it that that you're up to? What is it that you're doing? Okay, that might be like this all day, guys. I apologize. I don't even know why I said Florida.
I thought I missed something in like the dialogue there where it's like, "Oh, Rex, you're in Florida now?"
Guys, I don't even know where I'm at right now. Like, I'm just having such a great day that I'm not even consciously aware of anything. So we know you're in Boise.
Those are amateurs.
We know you're in Boise, but what is it that you're doing in Napa? Maybe that's why. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So we buy and hold.
Okay.
Buy and hold single family homes, and then we own a corporate housing company here as well.
Okay. And are you just local? You're inside, you're just in the Boise area, or are you doing stuff outside?
Only in Idaho.
Oh, okay.
I won't do anything outside of Idaho. I don't care if it's 2 minutes across the border. I won't do it. So it's literally only Idaho.
Okay.
Is that like a personal preference, or is it just because that's your market and you know it, or everywhere else is a little bit wacky?
So if you go to the West, those states are all wacky. Oregon, Washington. If you go to like Utah, is pretty good still. But like I know the market here well enough. I know the market here, and it kind of gives me a boundary. Because if there's something that comes up that's just across the border and it's in Utah, and I'm like, I really want that, then I just start getting spread out too much. For me, starting out, I was spread out everywhere, and I was doing stuff kind of everywhere, and I didn't really start getting traction until I just gave myself boundaries and said, nothing outside of here, only inside this box here.
That makes sense. So kind of bringing in your focus and allowing yourself to narrow it down and double down essentially.
Yep. So it kind of gives that those boundaries, and something that I can go up to here, but not go past there.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. Kind of create some rules and guidelines for yourself in a way.
Yep.
Nice.
Because there's too many awesome deals out there. I'd be buying them everywhere, but then I'd get spread so thin I wouldn't be able to dominate my market here.
It sounds like you're definitely dominating. I love following your Instagram. I really enjoy the content that you put on there. It's always fun to watch.
I just had to celebrate the other day. I have 100 posts on there now. So yeah.
Oh, way to go. Well,
how are you celebrating?
Rex, why don't you give us kind of your story of leading up to dominating the Idaho market? Like, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 26. Just had a birthday this month.
Wow. Well, happy birthday, bro. Okay, so yeah, let's find out, how did Rex get to this place? Like, let's go back. What did you go to college? What was your college? What was it like in high school? Like, kind of, how did you get to this spot that you're at right now?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in a big family.
How many?
11 siblings.
Whoa, I had 7. I thought I was doing good.
Yeah. Most people say, "Oh, you must be Mormon or Mexican." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not actually either." So,
Oh wow,
Gotcha.
dang, that's impressive. And did you guys have a farm that you
we had
did?
we had 5 acres that we grew up on.
Yeah, but we didn't
Yeah.
farm our land. We just had horses and stuff. But
Yeah, so we grew up, we had every kind of animal possible on a
okay,
little 5 acre piece, but grew up big family. We was homeschooled.
okay,
Um, and so never went to college. Um,
okay.
shucks,
So
I go ahead.
shoot me up to 18. I mean, when did you get done with homeschool? Did you stop at 18 or did that keep
Oh,
going
I
after?
stopped at like 12 or 13.
Okay. This is amazing. Cool. So what were you doing between, let's go 12 and 13 and maybe 18? Like what were you doing? Were you doing jobs? Were you doing real estate related? Is there real estate inside your family? Like what was that like?
Yeah, so really none of my family did real estate. My
Okay.
dad did, my grandparents did. My grandpa owned a mobile home business for a lot of years. My one grandpa did. The other one was a farmer. But my dad had a lawn care business, was
Okay.
self-employed. Most of my older brothers all started their own and were self-employed. So between 13 and 18, I worked with them. So just went out and mowed yards with my dad for a couple of years. And then
Okay.
by the time I hit 16, I think I was working with just some of my brothers. So between 16 and 18, just working for them.
Okay. And while you were working for them, were you just doing only labor stuff or were you interested in the business side? Like were you like, "Oh, dad, I want to see how are you doing marketing? How are you fulfilling on your customers, like customer service?" Or were you just like, "No, I'm just here to do the work."
No, I knew that I would start my own business. I tried to grow my dad's business, but he was laid back and he wasn't really looking to grow it. And that's
Okay.
something he always pushed for all of us. He's like said, when you're 18 years old, I want you to be able to run your own business. You're not going to work for me. I want you to be able to go be self-employed. So that was always in the back of my mind. Being in the lawn care business, there's really not a lot to it. So I knew everything there was to know about it besides actually running the business.
Okay. So then let's go to 18. So then 18, your dad says, "Cool, at that point, you got to go do did he say, "Okay, actually you do have to leave and start to go do your own business," or did he let you stay inside his company and try to grow?
I left his company when I think I was 16, 15 or 16 is when I left I think 16 is when I left his company.
Okay.
Then I was just working with my brothers. And then one of my brothers, he had a lawn care business. It was just, I say a business, basically had a job where he mowed 100 yards a week. And I was working with him and he said, "Hey, if you want to run this business for a whole year, I will pay you good, but then I will just turn it over to you." Because we had moved then
wanted to retire or what?
So we had moved from Nampa to Weiser. So it was an hour and a half drive back to work and home every day. And he didn't want to make that drive. So he just started up a business closer to where he moved to.
Okay.
And he told me, he said, "Hey, if you run the business, I will pay you X amount per day. I will take the rest. But then in a year, I will just give you the clientele. You will still have to buy your own trailer, your own equipment, all of that stuff."
Yeah, you're buying the business at that point, or you're essentially just taking it over. Actually, you're not even buying it.
Yeah, and so I worked. He made money off it all year long.
Yeah,
and so in a sense, I bought it over the course of a whole year.
Right. Okay. So that was at 18. From 18 to 19, you're taking over your brother's business. Then at 19, you own it outright, and then you have to. And then during that time, were you like business savvy of like, okay, how can I look at the numbers? How can I grow the business? Like, what do I need to do for marketing? Like, what are my expenditure? Like, are these things that are going on in your head, or are you just like, dude, great, I was just mowing lawns. Like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, really. I was just mowing yards. I didn't know all the business stuff. To me, it was just, how can I mow 30 more yards this week?
Okay.
And I think I was up to 150 yards a week where I would go out and mow. And it's to where I was making decent money, but I wasn't business smart at all.
Yeah.
I was just making money, and I'd
You were
stick
just
cash
working
away
hard.
and just worked hard. Went out and worked hard and made money.
Okay. And how long did that go? So that was from 19, you have the business. What happened between 19 and like 2025?
So I ran it for about 2 years. So I was driving an hour and a half to work and an hour and a half back, so just a lot of time on the roads.
Right. But
so
do
I
you
ended
have
up,
kids? Do you have your own fleet? Do you have 15 kids yourself?
not yet. So I
Okay.
have 2 now, but at that time I was single, not married or anything.
Okay.
But I just got tired of driving back and forth. So I ended up selling the lawn care business on year 2.
Wow. Okay. And then what was the plan? Okay.
So just
Get rid of this to do
landscaping. So it's kind of all in the same field of work, but I just started doing landscaping.
Okay.
Designing landscape for people's properties,
And starting from scratch, how did you build that up? Okay, cool. I'm going to get rid of my lawn care business. I'm going to go into landscaping. What was the pull that made you want to transition? Oh my gosh, landscaping is going to be easier. And then how did you build up your clientele? Because like I always think this is the most interesting thing with the marketing. Like you can have the best idea, the best product, but then how are you going to go get people that actually want to consume or use the product?
Yeah. So landscaping is not an easier job. It's way harder work, but it was closer to home. I could have a little more flexibility. In my lawn business, I was there 5 days a week, all summer long. I couldn't take vacation. I couldn't do any of that. I had to be there every day. So in the landscaping, it was just closer to home. I didn't have to drive an hour and a half to work or an hour and a half.
But why couldn't you start a lawn mowing business inside at where you were living in Weiser? Why did you be like, oh, landscaping's the thing I'm going to do here?
Smaller town. It takes years to build the lawn care business like that. So it's a smaller town. It didn't pay as well there versus the landscaping would pay good.
And big jobs, yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah, bigger jobs. I could go get a job, $10,000 to install some flower beds or $20,000 to install some flower beds, whatever it is. So it was bigger jobs, and there were just the to build up a good lawn care business just takes time.
Gotcha.
To build the clientele for it.
Okay, so you got into that. And was it just word of mouth when you started to get into the lawn or into the landscaping, or were you door knocking people or anything like that to try to get business?
Basically just word of mouth. I put an ad in the newspaper and word of mouth. So I had relatives throughout all the western side of Idaho over there that was in doing lawn care and stuff like that. And a lot of them wouldn't do bigger projects such as the landscaping. So there was a need for it. I knew there was a need for it. So there was a lot of just referrals.
Gotcha. So your brother or relatives, other people were in that industry, and then they're like, hey, if you need someone to do this, I got my boy Rex that can come in. Do you want him to come in and step in? Okay, cool. So how long did that last?
So I did that for probably I really was just doing that for a short period of time. Then I started getting into the tree service as well. So I started mixing the two.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was a tree climber. So climb trees, cut down trees in people's backyards and everything like that for the next until I was about 25. I did a combination of both.
Okay. So tell me, so this is really cool. So all this lawn care, all this stuff at 25, what happened or what was going on in your mind that had you, or how did you actually switch from landscaping stuff or yard, trees, arborist to real estate? Like what, usually something happens like, okay, this isn't working. I see something else that has more potential. What was that story for you that made you transition?
Yeah, so I 3 years ago, some friends of mine were telling me how I should read this book. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I wouldn't read it. And they kept
Were
pushing
you a
me.
reader at all before? Like you loved
no.
Okay.
Personal development, that wasn't a word in my vocabulary.
Yeah, it's usually
never.
Who is. Yeah.
So I'm out trimming a tree and I'm like, all right, they want me to read this book. I'm going to see if I can find a free version of it on YouTube, because I'm sure as heck not going to pay $10 for a book. Like, come on.
Why did you want to listen to your friends or whatever to read the book? Were they where you wanted it to be or something? Because usually, like if some bum came up to you and was like, "Hey Rex, go read this Rich Dad Poor Dad," you're like, "Yeah, that's okay. I'm good. Thanks."
So they wasn't super successful necessarily themselves, but some of their family was successful.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, it got me thinking, like, maybe this book is actually something good. Maybe this book isn't actually good.
And what was it?
It was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Called it.
And so
yeah,
I wouldn't buy the book, but I found a free version of it on YouTube.
And how was it to read that? Like, I feel like, even me reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, Carlin, I'm curious on yours. Have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, Carlin?
That was the first book. I think that's the book that gets everybody to this point.
I feel like it's always either Rich Dad Poor Dad or Think and Grow Rich. Like, I feel like
Napoleon Hill or Robert Kiyosaki, one of those two.
Yeah. But I know even me, and that was the reason why I did engineering, is I hated reading. And actually I love reading, but the stuff that they made me read, I just didn't care for. But like reading Rich or Think and Grow Rich, like it didn't really excite me that much. Like, I only read it because of the people I looked up to were like, this is what you need to read. But it wasn't like when I started to read it that I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like, I kind of had to force myself to read it. What was it like for you, Rex, when you were going through it?
So I listened to it, the whole version that was on YouTube, while I was trimming a couple different trees there on the one project. Okay. And I listened to it and I got done. And when I got done with the job, I went home and I told my wife, I said, wow. So I just read this book that totally changed my life. Like this just made me see things that I didn't even know was possible. And so it was literally a huge pivoting point in my life. And it's like, I realized it made me realize that struggling with money was a choice.
Oof. Wow. That's powerful.
And made me realize, like, I could put $5,000 somewhere and I could have 5,000 employees over there that are working for me 24/7, 365, versus my thought prior to that was, in order for me to invest, I had to go buy a new piece of equipment, then go out and use that piece of equipment myself to make more money. To me, that's what investing was.
Right.
And it made me realize, like, I can put my money somewhere. I can keep doing what I'm doing, and I could be making money from here and from here.
Wow. Okay.
And then it also taught me the difference between good debt and bad debt, because up to that point, or even to this day, I've never had a bank loan. I was raised very against debt, credit cards, all of that stuff. So it made me realize, like, wow, I can go get debt and then I can make this debt make me money. So wow. It was a huge eye-opening experience for me.
What did your wife say when you came home and had this revelation? Oh my gosh, I listened to this book and it told me all these things. Was she like, oh wow, that's awesome? Or was she like, oh, you're crazy? Like, what are you talking about? Did she support you?
She's like, oh yeah, that's cool. But she didn't understand it like I did at that point, because she hadn't read the book. So she's like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh yeah. She wasn't like bashing it or anything, even though
Yeah,
she was
okay.
raised a very similar way, you know,
Right.
no debt,
Yeah.
no credit cards, no none of this stuff.
Yeah.
But that was actually a conversation her dad had with me before we got married was, what's your thoughts about debt?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, oh, no, I'll never get debt. Like, I don't like debt. And then lo and behold, 2 years later.
I was gonna ask, what does that conversation look like now?
I mean, he respects what I do. They respect what we do. You know, I know at one point they thought we was crazy, but they respect what we do, and I respect what they do. You know, so there's a mutual respect there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Wow. So then, okay, so Think and Grow Rich, mind opening, right?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, so wow.
We're getting there, Creighton. Don't worry, we're getting there.
And you know what? It's funny because you say that one, because my actual favorite Rich Dad Poor Dad is the Cash Flow Quadrant. I don't know if you've read that one, Rex.
I haven't yet.
Oh, you might want to check that one. That one is phenomenal because it talks about the different quadrants for making money. Like, I feel like that's kind of the next level, but it's essentially what you're doing, where instead of being self-employed, where you're paying yourself to work, you want to get to becoming a business owner, where you own a business and you get the passive income, essentially what you're already doing right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you find out about debt, you're all in. Now is that when you're like, how did you be like, okay, now real estate is the thing?
So I started trying to figure out ways to invest my money because I didn't know how to invest money. I didn't know where to invest money. I didn't know any of that stuff. I started hearing about like the stock market stuff. So I started looking into that a little bit.
I did the exact same thing. I did
looking into like day trading.
This is the exact same. After I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad while I was at in my aerospace job. Got done, and then I was like, okay, cool, this is great. Now how do I invest? And I went into started to do day trading.
Yeah, I looked into day trading and then cryptocurrency. It was like, this is not.
We didn't have crypto back in my day, Carlin, but yeah.
Did you guys make anything from day trading?
No.
And well, for me, I went through order of operations. Like, okay, cool, day trading sounds great. Stocks are awesome, especially being an engineer. I was like, I love patterns. I love math. Like, this is going to be amazing. And then for me, when I was looking through, I was like, well, I have to be watching the news. I have to know all this stuff about the company. I have to be essentially on the clock all day long reading about these businesses to know the trades and stuff. And I was like, I hate watching the news. I hate having to keep up with all that stuff. So for me, that was the deal breaker for me on why that wasn't the lifestyle I wanted. And then the next one for me was I found out about real estate and how it was so much more passive. So I was like, oh yeah, that sounds way better. But what was it for you, Rex?
Yeah, it's just funny you mentioned that because I was even a little bit of me was interested in the stock market because of like, oh, I'm going to go analyze these companies and I'm going to go learn all this stuff. And it was just kind of a weird little part of me that interested me a little bit, but I never did it. I've never invested into the stock market, but it was just something I was like, okay, I need to learn about this. But then as I was continued working, I was cutting trees and everything, and I'm trimming trees for people who are buying properties, people's rental properties. I'm in there cutting the trees down. I see properties that need fixed up and someone will buy it and go in there and fix it all up and then sell it. And I'm like, that would just be really cool. Like I could actually leave my footprint on this community, you know, like that would just be really cool. So that's where it started to click for me in real estate that's where it drew my interest.
And how long was that from you getting the bug of I need to invest, I want to grow, to getting to this kind of aha that yes, it is real estate? Was that like 6 months or do you know?
So it was a period of time, pretty quick off. I realized like, okay, real estate is what I want to do. Okay. But it took me a long time to get anywhere with that because everybody I was listening to told me I had to go get a bank loan and I had to have 25% down. And so there was a year there that I listened to a lot of podcasts that told me I needed to get a bank loan. I read books and I never had a bank loan. I didn't even have a credit card at the time. So I knew that I'm like
telling you this.
Well, like Bigger Pocket stuff was saying you got to get a bank loan, save up 25% or save up 3% or 5%, go get an FHA loan, refinance in a year. So as I was going through that, I'm like, okay, I want to get 10 properties. I want to have 10 doors in 10 years. I didn't know how that would be possible, but I'm like, if I can get 10 doors in 10 years, that's the end all be all.
Wow. Okay.
But it's going to be a minimum of probably 2 years before I can even get a bank loan for a house. I'm self-employed. Self-employed people don't want to show any income.
100%.
You want to be like, sure. I'm kind of screwed right here. Like I want to do this, but there's this big old brick wall right in front of me that I have no idea how to get through or over.
Wow.
But I just continued down that path of, okay, I'm going to get a credit card. I'm going to build up my credit, and that's the way I'm going to do it.
Okay.
But then in December of 22, one of my brothers said, hey, there's this guy on YouTube doing some really cool stuff. Like, I think it'd be really beneficial to you. And he sent me this YouTube video of Pace.
Was he doing real estate, your brother, or?
He was talking about doing real estate, but he wasn't doing any real estate at the time.
Okay.
But he sent me this YouTube video. I sat down and watched it, and I got up. It was a 16-hour video. And I just watched the whole thing.
I remember those lives. I don't know if that was one of the ones that I was on. There was.
I think it was one of the last ones he did.
Yeah, I remember being in those, and that's how I found him. I was in one of his lives. I got to go on and talk to him, and then it was over for me. But
yeah, once I heard that big brick wall that was in front of me, that I was slowly building steps to climb over it, such as like getting a credit card, start reporting more income, stop writing off so much income, that type of stuff, all of those steps I was building, that everything just crumbled, and I could just see everything out there in the future. I'm like, wow, there is no end to the possibilities that I have now.
Wow. And how did that feel at that point? Like were you struggling or feeling frustrated at like, okay, I'm listening to Bigger Pockets. I'm listening to these people that are saying I have to wait, 2-3 years to come up with 20-30% down. Was that frustrating? I mean, you were so young, so you might have not had that thing of like, oh, I'm falling behind. It's not happening fast enough.
Totally. Because I'm like, why do I like, this is what I want to do. It seemed hopeless to a point, but I still wasn't giving up. Even though it just seemed hopeless, I'm like, I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to keep slowly pursuing this. It was just in a really slow gear and slowly pursuing it. It didn't seem reachable really, but I knew if I just kept slowly pursuing it, at some point it would probably happen.
Okay. So then you see this. So then what happened at that point?
I started just making phone calls left and right. I didn't know what I was calling about or what I was even saying half the time.
What were you calling? Like, were you calling lists then? And so after you had this aha, what was your objective? Okay, cool. The wall is gone now. And realistically, what I'm hearing is you're like, okay, now I can see that it's possible sooner, or there's new possibilities that have been created for you. So what was now your goal?
So my goal was to just buy real estate still.
Okay.
So I realized, I'm like, I can go buy a rental house and utilize the debt that someone else has on there. Like, what is holding me back now?
Oh, so at that point, you're like, cool, let me take over other people's debt.
Yeah, let me go take over other people's debt, because now that 2 years that I figured it would take me was gone. And I'm like, now I can get started like immediately.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And I'm sure at that point you were pretty excited at that moment. Like, okay, yeah, I can see how I can act. There's an actual path for me to get there quicker.
Yes, totally. So I'm like, what am I waiting for? So I just started making phone calls on houses, whether they were on market, whether they were something on marketplace, Facebook marketplace. I didn't know how to pull lists or anything at that time. I just started simply making phone calls. I started reaching out to people that I knew that were real estate agents and everything, just talking to anybody and everybody, hoping that I would find something, kind of like shotgun approach. Just, I didn't know what I was even aiming for really, besides to buy a piece of real estate.
Yeah. It sounds very Grant Cardone. His is ready, fire, aim. And it sounds like that's kind of what you were going through. You're just like, cool, I have this goal, no idea anything. Like, I'm just going to start taking shots, and then I'm slowly start to figure out what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about real estate. I just knew I wanted to buy something, and I knew in order to buy something, I had to talk to people.
Yeah. Okay. So how long were you doing that? And did you have any luck doing that?
So I had a couple properties, surprisingly, early on that I got really close to signing contract on, but didn't end up happening. I ended up joining sub 2 a month later, but just those properties, I got really close, but just didn't end up happening. Ended up falling through. And this was in January, so my work was slow. So come February, my work started to get busier, and honestly, I started to feel a little bit discouraged. I'm like, all of these walls were broken down. I thought I could do this in a month, and I don't have this in a month. I haven't bought a property. I got so close to 2 and nothing. So I realized that I had to focus on my work that was bringing me money in at the time, and I still had to make money. So I pretty much just put real estate on the back burner at the time, and just started.
Let's go back. Because I think there's so many people that get to this point. Like, we get excited, and I'm sure that this is what's kind of happened throughout your journey. You're like, okay, it's this one thing. Like, if I can just push this domino over, then all the riches that I've been waiting for are on the other side. So you're like, cool, I knock it over, and then you get there, and lo and behold, there's another domino, another wall waiting for you on the other side. So talk about, like, what did that feel like? Like, what was going on, like, inside your mind, and like the feelings that you were feeling, that like, okay, I had this plan, this was gonna work. I made calls for a month or so, and it wasn't working. Like, what were the thoughts in your head at that point?
And I know most people struggle with it, but we want it now. That initial wall got broke down, and I thought, this is so easy. When it didn't happen immediately, it's a human thing. We start to get discouraged about it. So it's just that little bit of discouragement. I tried this, and I tried that, and I tried this, and I spent money on this program, and I did this, and I did this, and all this money that I spent hasn't made me any money yet.
And
Even though in the back of my mind, I knew that it would, but it was still just, subconsciously, I was just discouraged a little bit. I was discouraged.
And then were you at a point where but you weren't at a place where, like, okay, this won't happen for me? Or what was it in your mind that's like, okay, I'm going to put this on pause? Like, what was the logic or the reasoning going on through your mind that, like, okay, this isn't working because of this, and let me know what this is, and then why you made the decision to, like, okay, let me pause?
Yeah. So I knew my biggest struggles at that point were mindset. I knew my biggest struggles was the mindset stuff. And even though this whole mindset, all of this was brand new to me, but I knew that it was mindset. But I started getting busy in my work, and I used that as an excuse to kind of put this real estate stuff on the side. But if I just put it completely on the side, then I'd be really discouraged.
Okay.
Like, this is never going to work. So I kept doing a little bit, but more of the stuff that I was doing was listening to mindset stuff, whether it's a podcast, a book, because those kept me thinking this is a reality. This can happen. This will happen. It kept pushing me forward.
Yeah. And what kind of things were you thinking in your head when you're like, for the person that's out there that's listening to this, watching right now, what would be the identifiers of like, okay, this is a mindset issue? Like, what were the things that you were thinking in your head that you're like, oh my gosh, I have a mindset issue? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah. So I would say being discouraged that I didn't get it as quick as I wanted.
Okay.
That made me realize that, okay, things just take time, but my mind says I should have it immediately, and it's going to take me a little bit of time.
And did you have an association of, I thought I'd get it faster, I didn't get it faster, therefore I am some sort of identity, a label?
Not so much. Not as much, because I knew I could get it.
Okay.
But just realizing that the reality that I didn't have it that quick. And just I thought spending money, I thought buying a program would get me a deal.
Wow. And how long had you been with the program and you didn't have a deal at that point?
A month.
Okay. So then,
or 6 weeks maybe, or something like that.
Okay. And then, so then you're like, okay, I need to fix my mindset. And when you're saying mindset, like, what did you want to get your mindset to? Like, okay, my mindset's here where this isn't working the way that I wanted. It's not happening as fast. Like, did you know, or at maybe reflecting on where you're at now, like, okay, my mindset was here. I needed it to get here. Like, what was that transition? What did you need your mindset to get to?
I didn't know. I didn't even know what I needed my mindset to get to.
Sharon says, Sharon says she can relate. That's where I'm at right now. So she's saying thanks for being amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. So I didn't know where my mindset even needed to be. I had no direction.
Yeah.
Is all I just wanted to buy real estate, but I had no direction of where that would go, what that would look like. And then in my mindset, I didn't even know. I didn't know where it needed to be. I continued listening to mindset stuff because it gave me motivation.
Okay.
I started to actually enjoy it a little bit, but it gave me some motivation and it gave me some hope that it was actually real, but I didn't have any direction. I didn't know. I didn't know what I needed to be. I didn't know what it needed to look like. I didn't know.
Okay. Yeah. So you lacked direction and you lacked mindset is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yep.
Okay. And then what happened from there? Like, when is it that you decided or thought about or started to entertain? I mean, I have a decent amount of questions of like, what was it about Growth Co. when you saw, or how did you hear about Growth Co. actually, first of all?
So Jesse posting stuff.
Where at? Like inside
Facebook
groups? Okay. So you saw this guy named Jesse. And what about Jesse was like, okay, this guy has relatability. Like, yeah, I'm interested in him. He's not just one of the million talking heads that are out there.
He had his energy.
Oh yeah.
Discipline, accountability. That is one of that's what attracted me to the Growth Co.
Okay.
Was when I joined the Growth Co., I was still just kind of in this, I was buying real estate at the time, but I was just kind of in this spinning world of low, really not a lot of accountability, not very disciplined at all. I wasn't holding myself to the standards that I dreamed my business would go to. And I wasn't holding other people that were a part of my business to the standards that I wanted my business to go to. And I didn't know how to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. So you saw Jesse, he was all about discipline, accountability. And then what was it that was like, is that what you're like, cool, I wanna be around this guy to get more of this? Or was it, okay, I'm interested in Growth Co because it sounds like there's a plan and there's mindset included. Like what was it for you that was like, I feel like this is gonna give me what I want or what I need?
Yeah. So I ended up, I seen a video that he had late one night, and I'm like, I have to learn more about this. I have to learn. So I sent him a message at like midnight my time.
And what was it that you
he
wanted
messaged
to
me.
learn about? What was the thing you wanted to learn?
I'm like, what is Growth Co?
Okay.
Can you tell me more about Growth Co?
What was it about the video that made you want to know more about it?
So it wasn't just that one video. It was prior videos that were, but he posted about his cohort. He only had 3 spots left, I think, at the time. And it was all the prior videos that he had been posting.
That talked about what? I'm just curious for the other person that's out there of like, that they're like, oh yeah, that's me too. Like I'm struggling with those things. Like what was it about the videos that called to you of like, yes, this is what I'm interested in?
Yeah. So it'd been like mindset, discipline, accountability, but he had direction. He knew where he was going. He was intentional with his time. He was intentional with the stuff that he did. And I didn't know how to be intentional.
Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. So then you get a hold of him, you talk to him about Growth Co.
So we had he sent me a message, and we ended up having 2 or 3 long phone conversations, and just conversations about where I'm at, what I'm struggling with, what I'm doing. And he was literally just there to help me out. Just like, hey, I at that time I was looking in bringing in an operations manager because I was doing a lot of phone calls, a lot of calls, and having them start making some calls and stuff for me.
And you're still doing your arborist business or landscape arborist? I didn't know which one you're doing at this point.
No, by this point, I own 4 properties. I hadn't been, I just, back in June of last year, we just said we're going to sell everything we have. We're going to sell the ranch. We're going to sell the businesses. We're going to sell everything. We're going to move to town, and we're going to do real estate.
Wow, that's bold.
We're going to burn all the ships. We're going to move to town and do this. So by August 7th of last year, we had moved to town. We sold everything. We had no income coming in from real estate still.
At that point or no?
We had 0 income coming in. But we'd sold enough stuff that we had a little chunk of money to live off of for a while. But by the time Growth Co. that came around, I had 4 properties. Okay. None of them were rented out. One was my personal, so it just, I knew where I wanted to go with things. I didn't know how to get there. So I'm like, I was going to, so that's up to this point. And then the phone calls I was having with Jesse, I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to bring this person into my business. But they're newly married. I was going to have them do 15 hours a week. And I wanted them to do 3 hours at a time. When they started call for 3 hours. But this guy, he's newly married. His wife didn't want him to work late in the evenings. So he thought he would kind of piece it in throughout the day. He would do a little bit in the mornings, maybe some of his lunch break, and probably nothing in the evenings because his new married wife didn't want him to do anything in the evenings. And Jesse asked me, he said, is that the standard that will get your business to where you want to go? Is making phone calls for 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunch break, maybe 15 hours a week, maybe only 10 hours a week. Is that the standard that will get your business where you want it to go? I said, no. And then he said, why would you bring that person into your business if they're not if that's not the standard that will get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
The only thing that'll do is hinder you from getting there.
Did you curse at him?
I had to swallow a little bit of pride, but I'm like, no, you're right. That's not the standard that'll get it to where I want to go. But you know, this or but that. It's like, no.
Then
that's not
your attachment to
that's not the standard. I was going for the easy way.
Of course.
Just like, hey, he's there. Like, I could do this.
Right.
It would have never worked.
Yeah.
But
and you would have wasted so much time. Like, you know, you could have tried to force it to work for a year just to come to the same conclusion of, hey, this anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really what it would have been. It would have just wasted my time. It would have wasted
and
his
their time. Yeah, for sure. Giving them that false sense of hope that, oh, this is going to work, whatever, where it's like, no, this doesn't stand a chance. So,
yep.
Yeah. Okay. So when you were at least interested in growth, like what were kind of the reservations that you had? Like what are thoughts in your head of like, you know, because you already were in a program prior, like what are the thoughts or concerns that you had like coming in to Growth Co?
So I think I had 2 long phone conversation with Jesse prior, and I just asking him, where are you at? What are you doing? You're a coach. Do you have coaches? Do you, you know, what is this? Where is your business going? What is your visions? And how is that going to translate to me? But then one of my questions is how are you going to hold me accountable? If I get into this program, I pay the money, I get in here, who's going to hold me accountable? How are you going to hold me accountable?
Mm-hmm.
And after our conversations, you know, I think I had 2. There was no reservations.
Wow.
I said, yeah, I'm in. And, you know, one of the onboarding people reached out to me, you know, and I'm like, send me the bill. I'll give you my card number now. There was no reservation. I knew that is what I needed in my business.
And so for someone, and I just want to help people that are out there, because I know what it's like. It's always so scary joining something because you're putting your faith in that person. And I love the questions that you asked of like, how are you going to keep me accountable? Who is it that's coaching you? How do you see me inside your vision? What's your vision of your company? Like, that's so awesome. But for the person that's kind of interested or maybe in the same situation that you were at, like, what do you think you could tell them, or what is it that Jesse told you that was like, okay, yes, this will help me, this will get me to where I want to go?
So his vision is what I wanted. He was doing his vision in his business was the direction that I wanted to go in my business. So for me, at that point, I already knew that if I wanted to go to point B, I needed to get around the people who are at point B. So he was doing what he the direction and vision of his business was what I wanted in my business. We lost him again.
I got to watch him finagle a little bit. Yeah. So at that point is just you saw like how he had put this thing together. You saw where you fit into the piece. You saw how all of these pieces were coming together, and it was just like, that's it. That is what I need right there.
100%. It just clicked with me. There was no sales, anything. It was just 2 people. We had a conversation, and he just literally had a conversation. And I'm like, this is what's for me. This is it.
Well, let me ask you this, Rex, because let's say, and sorry, every time I get a phone call, it cuts out all my stuff. But for like, you've been in real estate for a while. You know what?
through all of this, if there was advice that you could give to someone that's sitting in your shoes from a year ago, what do you think what is it that you would tell them?
Get clear on your visions on where you want to go with things. Try to define clear goals. You know, what are your visions? Get clear on them, and then learn how to reverse engineer that. Learn how to if you have your vision clear enough, you can see the end, and then you can help backtrack. You can backtrack from that. And if that's something you're struggling with, is getting clear on your visions or reverse engineering them, go find someone who is good at creating a clear vision and reverse engineering and knowing their steps to get there. And ask them questions. Become a part of their life in a sense. What you can see in their life and the way that they do it will start entering your life, and you will start picking up on all the things that they are doing that is getting them there. The way they're creating a clear vision, the way that they're reverse engineering. So just be around those people. Surround yourself with those people.
And can you guys hear me?
I can hear
You're good. Welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Every time I get a phone call, it shuts all my stuff down, so I apologize. And I think that's so true, Rex. Like what you're talking about, vision and all these things. Like that's what I mean. There's so many things I love about Jesse, but I look up to him for his vision and his ability to hire and grow teams. Like that is, I think, one of his biggest superpowers. So hearing you talk about that, like that's so true. I'm curious for anyone that's watching, like I want to know, like, what are the objections? Like, what are the hesitations, reservations that all of you guys are having before you want to jump into a program or you're ready to invest in yourself? Because Rex, you've been in real estate, obviously in other programs, and you've seen some of the mindset, the objections that some of these people have. Like, what do you think are some of the common ones that prevents them from being ready or willing to invest in themselves into something like this?
They don't believe in themselves. They don't just because everybody else is doing it. They don't believe that they have the ability to actually go make that happen.
I would agree to that. And what would you say to that person that has that?
Just put that aside. Even if your mind is telling you, spend this money and join this program is the stupidest thing you'll ever do, just do it anyhow. Do it. And then see what you are guaranteed to learn something from it. Whether you learn the program is a scam, whether you learn the program is not a fit for you, whether you learn that program is not really the direction you want to go with your life, whether you realize that's the greatest program in the world, just spend the money and do it. You are guaranteed to learn from it.
And where would you position what you learned from Growth Co. in those list of things that you learned from going through it?
For me, trying to think how to answer the question because it's not a scam. So for me, it's been life-changing. Wow. It's totally life-changing. From where my business was when I first joined to where it is now is totally different. Like totally different. And made me realize that my goals, I had a 10-year goal and I made it happen in 12 months.
Wait,
my goals.
Hold, pause. You what? Say that again. You had a 10-year goal?
So
What was your 10-year goal? Because someone might say it's something small, like, oh, in 10 years, I want to buy one property. Like, what was your 10-year goal that you collapsed down to 12 months?
A 10-year goal that I had right when I was wanting to get into real estate was to buy 10 doors in 10 years and to do real estate full time and make a living from real estate.
Okay.
And in 12 months, that happened.
What? That's crazy. And can I say this, and I hope you see this as an empowering way, like, you didn't go to college, you didn't do all this business stuff, you didn't all, like, you did this in such a short period of time by just coming through. And what do you think it was within Growth Code that allowed you to collapse a 10-year goal into a 12-month possibility?
It made me be okay with having big goals and having big goals in a short period of time. I remember one of our first calls. I told them my goals. I opened up. I became vulnerable on that call. I told them my goals, and I felt stupid saying it. Like me personally, that was something I had to work through. It was a big enough goal that I felt like I was being stupid even saying that.
Well, stupid, why? Why did you feel stupid?
Because it was too big of a goal. I'm like, Rex, that's not you.
So you didn't believe it was possible. Here it is. And how many people here that are listening, like, you feel like you have a big goal. And I always talk about it as like, we have all these things that are secrets in a closet that we're afraid to show the rest of the world. We're afraid to show people all these things. So I think so many of us have these big goals, but we're afraid to say it. And usually we're afraid because we don't think it's possible, or we think we're going to fail at it. So we don't want to touch that. What was it for you? Like, why didn't you want to talk about it?
I judgment from other people. I didn't think it was possible necessarily. I knew it was possible, but not in the time frame. I set this goal as a 12-month time frame. I said, I want to be here in 12 months. And most people would have looked at that and said, Rex, you better move that from 12 months out to like 15 years. But I set it at a shorter time frame. And it forced me to just think differently. I couldn't focus on things that would provide $10,000 a month if my goal was to make $100,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and that's something even now we all struggle with too. But it made me realize I can think bigger. And if the bigger I think, the bigger I set my goals, I have to change the way I think. I can't hire someone who can only work 5-10 hours a week when I wanted them to work 15 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted them to sit down and make 3 hours of calls 5 days a week, but they was only going to make 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, that wouldn't get me to where I wanted to go.
Yeah. So after you told the 12, or you collapsed your 10-year goal to 12 months, set it, like, what was it inside Growth Co, or what was it that you felt like, that you actually felt that it was possible or empowered, or like, what was it that once you said it was like, okay, yes, now I'm ready to start moving towards this, or yes, I believe that this is possible for me? Like, why was it different now?
So when I set that goal, that 12-month goal of making X amount of money per month, no one told me I was stupid.
And was the X amount over like 5,000? Like, you don't have to say what the actual number is.
Oh yeah, no, it was a huge amount. I wanted to make like $100,000 a month.
Okay.
So no one told me that I was stupid for thinking that. People said, yeah, I think that's doable. But you need to change up this and this and this in your business. You need to change this. You need to do this differently. So it was, if they would have said, oh, Rex, pick a reality goal, pick something that's actually probably realistic.
Mm-hmm.
That would have hindered me from being where I am today. But by them saying, I think that's possible, they could see it. They could see that it was possible. They could see that this is totally doable. You just need to change this, this, and this, and this to get you to that.
And then is that what they gave you? What did they give you in order to actually achieve it in the 12 months? Because it's one thing, you can have that person behind you that's raw, like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're amazing, whatever. But then I think this is what you're talking about. Then what happens after that?
Step by step, working through things. What are the bottlenecks in your business? How can we solve those bottlenecks? So just step by step working through it. Did I achieve that goal in 12 months or 10 months or whatever it was? I didn't achieve that goal, but I got a lot closer to that goal than I would have if I'd have set something 10 times smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So it was when I created problems in my business. I had to identify my bottlenecks, my weak points, and I had to take them to a group of people and say, hey guys, these are my struggles. These are my problems. And then they would help to give me steps through that, how how to even identify those struggles. That's another thing, is just you got to learn how to even identify the bottlenecks or identify the struggles before you can then realize them and take them for help.
Right. For sure. So what would you say is either your favorite or the most helpful thing about being inside Growth Co and going through the whole program?
The people.
How so? Like, what about the people?
Everybody there is setting goals and pushing themselves to become a better person, to become that next level person. So being surrounded in a group of people that are always holding you accountable for not doing the things that you need to be doing, that are helping you navigate the areas that you're struggling in. Besides just the whole blueprint that Jesse's put together, on everything. But it's, for me, people that are doing things that I want to do is what helps me get there.
Mm. Love that. And so where are you at currently? Because you collapsed your 10-year down to 12 months. What are you? You don't have to say the number, but like, what have you been able to accomplish or do since graduating from Growth Co?
A lot. I've done
because I just want it to be like, I don't think people understand like how amazing the stuff that you're doing. So like, feel free to be, put the humble pie to the side, and like, because think about what you would have been like if you were to watch this, 4 or 5 years ago. Like, what is it that you would have wanted to hear at 4 or 5 years? Someone's like, oh yeah, everything's changed, everything's better. But like, what is it that's like specific?
So in the last 10 months, one of the things, I'm now able to buy houses and I can get paid for buying the houses.
What do you mean by that? Because I remember being a wholesaler, and if someone would have told me that, I'd be like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So I can go buy a house. Instead of doing my money, I get a private money lender to fund the total down payment, and then also write me a check for buying it.
So you're getting paid up front for a property that you're going to get passive income in addition to?
Yep.
Okay. That sounds pretty phenomenal.
Like, that was a life-changing moment for me, realizing that, because I bought a number of properties. I didn't get paid. Some of them I even used my own money to buy them, but I wasn't getting paid on anything. Like, that was a big thing.
And that hinders your growth, because if you're not, because I think so many of us are getting into real estate of like, okay, I want the someday money, I want the passive income, but I can't, like, if I was to talk to you, Rex, you're like, oh yeah, it's great, I get all this passive income. I'd be like, Rex, that's awesome, but like, I need money now. Like, I can't just be, I have to have, that's why I have to have my W-2. I have to stay in my W-2, because if I don't have my W-2, I don't have today money. I need today money and I need tomorrow money.
But I'm going to quit my W-2 and go start wholesaling because I want to be in real estate, but I also have to make today money.
Yeah.
And the logic's just backwards. I'm like, keep your W-2. You already know how to do that. It's going to be a whole lot easier than wholesaling.
Right.
And just go start buying properties.
Yeah. And
if you need the
especially
money,
if you can get paid up front for buying them, then you get both sides. You get money today and you get money later.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So going through Growth Co, you've learned how to do that. What else do you say is like, what is it that you're currently doing now that someone that's just starting would need to hear so that they can too believe that this is indeed possible for them too?
So it taught me a lot about the importance of needing systems, needing systems and processes. And part of that is also just been my own business doing it and then running into problems with lack of systems and lack of processes. But you can buy real estate, but you got to rent out that real estate. You got to have the back end stuff as well. There was a point where I had 4, 5, 6 houses when I was just starting out, and they were all sitting vacant. You know, and I my goal was to buy real estate, so I went and bought the real estate, and then I'm like, now I got to rent these properties out, I guess. So it made me realize the importance of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole business.
But I can't do it all by myself. So find the person who can help me do this part of it, whether that's an operations manager, whether it's a partner. Find the person. I'm finding my superpower. Find that. Focus on that. Find the other people that will do the rest of it.
Amazing. And so what is it? I know you said you're buying properties now. Like what is it that you are currently doing? Because I think you said something about it wasn't assistant living, but what was the other projects? Actually, let's do this. Like, can you tell someone, if I was you 5 years ago and looking up to you, like, can you tell me if you could go back to that version of Alex and say, hey, Alex, if you keep doing these things, if you go through these programs, this is what you'll be doing right now?
If I could go back to them and tell them,
what's possible. Like, I want you to go back to a 5-year younger version of Alex that's like, I don't know if this is possible, whatever. Like, I want you to tell that version, this is what I'm doing now. So that they're like, oh yeah.
So for what I'm doing now, is doing real estate full time. I'm doing it with my wife, raising kids at the same time. We're buying properties consistently. We, in the last 10 months, we've done over $500,000 of business through one of our companies. We've started brand new companies. It took us 10 months, but when I paid for a program to the time I made a penny from any real estate stuff, it took me 10 months. So it's going to take some time. I am living a year ago, what I dreamed of 1 year ago, I'm living that today. I'm living my dream in 12 months.
And how has that had a ripple effect? Like, you're going to do this with your wife. Like, how is that impacting more than just I get to do real estate?
It's impacting everything. My goals have gotten bigger. I have been able to provide opportunity for a lot of different people. I've been able to help other people get to where they get started to where they wanted to go. So it's literally ripple affected so much stuff. Some of my other family starting to do real estate, do bigger things themselves, you know, so I've been able to help change that even in my own family legacy.
So it's set like the precedents that, in a sense, the goals that you put in place for yourself, the things that you dream of, are perfectly capable when you invest in yourself, when you put your mind to it, and when you surround yourself with the people that you should be surrounding yourself with.
Yep. One year ago, my dad said I would lose everything in a year. And so far I haven't.
Wow. That's crazy. How does that feel?
He didn't like what he thought what I was doing was not smart. And I understand it. I understand it from his background and everything. But if you get around the people that give you the confidence to do the things that you want to do, that give you the permission to do the things that you want to do, your entire life will totally change at such a rapid speed. It's hard to even imagine.
Would you even imagine where you're at now would have been possible a year ago?
No, I had a dream, but I didn't think that it would have been possible.
That's insane, man. That's so cool. So what is it that, if anyone wants to connect with you now, Rex, like what is it that you're looking for help with, or is there anything you're looking for? Private money, more deals? Like what is it that if someone's watching this wants to reach out to you, ask you questions, or get your help on, or wants to help you, what is it that you and your company are looking for right now?
So we are buying properties in Idaho, only Idaho right now.
Okay.
We do have lenders that fund all of our deals. So if someone's a lender and wants to fund a deal, but also wants to come and participate in the deal in a sense, come spend a couple days with us and we'll see what we're doing, like really see the in-depth stuff of what we're doing. That's something I do for my lenders. But yeah, we're buying properties all throughout the state of Idaho and just continuing to build our business. Anybody that has a house that they are open to renting out on a flexible stay, let me know. Because in Idaho, I have families reaching out to me all the time that need temporary places to stay.
Okay. And how do you want people to reach out to you? Where do you want them to go?
So they can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, either one of those, message me.
What's your Instagram?
At the Rex Shippy.
At the no period or anything?
No, just Rex Shippy. If you search Rex Shippy, it'll come up. Another thing is, yeah, I'm looking to speak on more stages. So if someone is looking for a guest speaker, podcast stage, whatever.
Okay. That's awesome, man. Anything else that like bottlenecks or anything that's going on in the business that you're looking for positions or help or anything, or you got everything figured out that you're growing?
We definitely don't got everything figured out, but we are figuring it out. We just hired a new person this week. So
wait, yeah. Let me ask you this, because I think that maybe to talk about this real quick, and then I'll let you get out of here because I'm sure you have other things. But you originally were doing everything yourself for the last 16 to 25, right? All you. Talk about like how many people are on your team currently.
Me and my wife, and then we hired people for 3 months, like on a contract base to build out some systems. But then we just made our long-term hire this last week. But it's just me and my wife and one other person now.
Okay. And what would you say to that person? Because I think this is a lot of, even for me, when I started to grow my real estate portfolio, all of that, of getting into the idea of growing a team, getting other people to help them, like, what would you say to that person that's like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, and that seems like so much work? Like, you know, a lot of those objections that people have on in releasing that control, or not thinking someone else could do it, or who am I to lead someone else? Like, I don't even have all this figured out.
It's even I'm working through that myself right now. You know, it's just saying, hey, this is the vision of my company. This is the vision where we're going. Finding the right person that I can just trust to release that stuff to. And they're not going to do it perfect. Some of the stuff they're going to do 10 times better than I'll ever do. And I know that. But even knowing that, it's hard because it's like me and my wife have kind of built this baby to this point. But we're just kind of stuck here if we don't bring some other people on.
Yeah.
So that's been something that I've had to work through recently.
Yeah. That's the mindset.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not thinking someone can do something better than you. And when you realize they can do it 10 times better than you.
If you give it, and I think it goes back to what you're saying. Like, you're saying, okay, if you're hesitant about the program or whatever, just go out and do it, because at least you're going to figure something out. And I found that out through myself of hiring people, of like, okay, let's go in and assume it's not going to be the best instead of going for this perfection. Let's just do it and see what happens, instead of having this expectation, having this attachment that it has to be perfect, it has to be all this. Like, go into it with that curiosity of, okay, cool, let's see what happens. Because like you said, you learn something from that now you can apply to the next person or the next one.
Yes, you're guaranteed to learn something from it. I've had other people on I had a couple other people on my team for a period of time. So they came on for a bit, it wasn't a fit. We parted ways, came on, wasn't a fit. So you're guaranteed to learn something from it. So just do it.
Love it. So, and that might be it. But what advice would you have for those that were where you were at before joining Growth Co. and collapsing a 10-year goal into 12 months? Like, what advice would you have for them? And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, go promote Growth Co. and say, oh yeah, that's the best thing ever. But like, what piece of advice would you say for that individual that was where you were at before you got where you're at right now?
Find someone. If where I was, I didn't know I kind of knew what I wanted, but I didn't really know necessarily what I wanted 100%. But find someone who's doing what you want to do and just have a conversation with them. Something that has treated me very well is someone who is farther along than I am. If they tell me something to do, just go do it.
And how do you get over that? Because I feel like that sounds so easy to do, right? And that sometimes the easiest things are the hardest to do. But like, when someone says it, because you have all these narratives, and I think this is really what holds people back, is if you were to tell me, hey, Creighton, just go do this, my narrative and my certainty and my story is going to be like, well, no, that's not going to work because of this, and this. I'm going to have so much resistance to go do the thing that you're telling me.
It's not easy. It's not easy at all. If you can just tell yourself, they told me to go do this. If I go do that, I'm going to have $1 million in a year. You know, if you can just tell yourself that they are farther ahead than me, they know something I don't know. If they're giving me advice, why would I not listen to their advice? And it's hard. I don't really know how to put it into words necessarily on how to get past it. You just, I suppose you have to trust that person enough to know that they're giving you sound advice, or have confidence in them that they have built this. They're giving me this advice for a reason. They're not just going to give me advice and lead me totally astray.
Right. And for me, I think one of the biggest things, at least on my side, is be honest with myself that I don't actually know the answers to become who they are. So when someone will tell me something and I have all this resistance, I have to be honest with myself of like, okay, obviously I don't know, because if I did know, I would be where this person is. And since I'm not where that person's at, clearly I do not know. So this person is further ahead. Like you're saying, okay, I'm going to trust that they might have something that I don't know yet.
1000%.
Bro, awesome. Dude, it's so awesome to get to talk some of this mindset stuff with you. And I still am blown away, brother, that you are only 26 or not even 26 yet, right? You're still
just
25.
turned 26.
Okay, yeah. Like that's insane what you've been able to do and accomplish. And what's your portfolio look like right now?
We have 9 different properties right now.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. And are they all single family, or how many doors do you have?
So we had 13 doors, and then we reconverted into, we had like some pad split stuff, but we reconverted some of them back to just regular houses.
That's amazing. And now this is your sole source of income for you and your family.
Yep.
Cool. And you're out you're out raising your own private money to enable this stuff as well.
Yep.
Just phenomenal, dude. I mean, it'd be so exciting to see you. Let's just do this last thing for these people that are struggling with a vision, whatever. Like, what's your vision for the next 5 years?
So 3-year goal is to have our corporate housing company at 300 families, to build a house 300 families every month.
Wow. And you believe that's possible?
Yes. Yep.
You believe you have the skills and the knowledge and all that on to make this possible in 3 years?
I will learn them as I go.
I love it.
I don't have them yet, but I will learn them as I go.
That's phenomenal. Awesome, man. Well, if there's anything we can do to help out, let us know how we can support and help and continue to watch you flourish and grow.
I
appreciate you getting to share what it's like. So for anyone's watching, feel free to follow the Rex Shippy on Instagram. Send him a message if there's anything you need. Carlin, did we post the link? Someone was asking about if they wanted to schedule a call to find out more about the Growth Co or whatever, where they can go do that.
So you can reach out to me directly. You could also reach out to Haley. She's in here in the comments, and she'll get you all set up too.
Awesome. Any last words, Rex? Yeah, go ahead, Carlin.
I just appreciate you guys. I appreciate the amount that everybody that I've met through Growth Co, the amount that they've poured into me. And yeah, it's been life-changing. And so I really, really appreciate you guys and the things that you guys are doing.
Guess who's making me cry today, Creighton?
Yes, it's not me.
It's not you today.
I know. Awesome. Well, that's it. Carlin, anything you want to wrap up and say, hey, it's an amazing Friday once again. It's so fun to hear people's wins.
It's just an amazing Friday, man. I'm so thankful to have both of you here, and thank you for just letting me kind of indulge in the back and forth and really kind of soak it all in, because Rex, it's just amazing to hear everything that you've done and everything you're growing, and your wife is awesome. Make sure you let her know I said that, because I love talking to her. And thank you guys both for just being here and giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
All right.
Awesome. Everyone go enjoy your Friday. Go be amazing. Go believe in your dreams. Rex's living example that it's possible. There you go.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
See ya.